Hi there, dreamers. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome here if you are new. My name's Jacqueline. I'm really glad to have you. Consider subscribing if you are into Hoyas and other houseplants. That's generally what we talk about around here. I am so glad to be back. You may have gathered that I'm in a different space. I couldn't be happier about it. I'm really looking forward to showing you guys around, so hang in there. I kind of still can't believe that I get to keep this space. I feel incredibly lucky. I'm excited to share it with you, finally. I had a slight mishap of the many mishaps that can happen when moving cross-country. It was a very small mishap, but there was a slight shifting of some things in our moving truck that resulted in some furniture being broken. My desktop actually got a good jostle and took some troubleshooting to actually get functioning again. My desk that used to house my computer also broke in the move. It's been a bit of a shuffle to get everything together to resume life as normal for my filming schedule. So thank you so much for your patience. I'm really glad to be back. And this video is not what I expected it to be. This video actually I conceptualized months and months ago. So it was like a long-term video project. And it turned out to be something completely different because as your scope increases, sometimes the direction of the video changes entirely. And 4.5, 5 months of video progress and different check-ins and stuff that I just don't feel like are relevant now. Almost none of these clips are relevant now. However, I thought it was important that I explain how I ended up with 2 plants when I only ordered one on their website. So I thought I would give you guys a brief overview of how these plants arrived, as it was not as smooth sailing as the rest of this video would imply. Everything turned out okay, like these plants are okay, but it was definitely an adventure. So I wanted to be sure to include how this all started because it's very different than how this ended. So here's the story of how I ended up with 2 plants. I will insert some pictures for you upon opening. It was rather frightening. I will say not the best first impression. When I opened the box, the smell was kind of overwhelming. It was a foul chemical smell, and I just thought, oh crap, what am I gonna be sinking my fingers into in this box? And when I pulled the plant out, the soil, the medium of the plant was so wet that it had soaked the paper and started to mold. It was growing things under there. That's where the smell was coming from. It was terrible. I disposed of the paper as quickly as possible and washed my hands and let it sit out, not in the cache pot because it fits pretty closely in there. I just let it sit in like a large saucer out for a while and just try to let the soil aerate. Every single growth point was solid yellow or brown and falling off. It was clearly shipped way too wet. This is a detrimental thing that can happen. There's no good way to ship a sopping wet plant. I reached out to customer service. They have a specific thing that they say to do, like an email to reach out to, and so that's what I did. I let them know. They responded quickly and they responded favorably. They didn't doubt what I was saying. They didn't try to backpedal or anything. They just offered to send a replacement, which I thought was really a great customer service move. So they did end up sending me the tracking a few days later, and while when I opened it there wasn't that same like foul smell, the soil was still incredibly heavy and dense and wet. Again, kind of let it sit out and air out, but this time only a couple of the growth points were yellow. Most of them were intact. It had a lot of new growth happening, so it seemed like a pretty happy plant. So I wanted to talk to you guys today briefly about Costa Farms. Bear in mind that when you buy these plants online from Costa Farms, these plants that can range from $17 to $20, $22 online for them to be shipped to you, it's $50. So it's more than double. It's a significant price increase. So, I mean, you want that plant to arrive in good condition. That's the reason why I wanted to make this kind of review, because if you're going to sink the money into it, you want to have some kind of idea how that's going to go, right? That's what I set out to do, was to just do a review of how their online ordering system went. And overall, I have 2 healthy plants. I did change out their media. I changed out their soil once I felt they were both stable enough to do so, just because the mix was very heavy and it was retaining too much water for my liking. I didn't want the roots to rot. But for the most part, they were both healthy plants. They've turned out to be relatively the same. They've both survived my move really well. I think they're now in the growth process again. It's been about a month that I've been here, and they're now starting to kind of grow again. But when I moved back to an area where my big box stores are supplied by Costa Farms again. Almost every time I walk into one of those stores, which I do frequently just because, particularly when you are unpacking and you can't do anything but work because it just drives you crazy to see chaos. That's me. I took every opportunity to kind of get out and not think about unpacking for a little while. So whenever I would go to a big box store, I would see they had tons of this Scindapsus trubii moonlight. They were beautiful. I mean, some stores treated them less favorably than others, so some of them weren't looking so good depending on how long they had been sitting there. But regardless where I went, there were between 5 and 15 of these plants at every store. And eventually I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna grab one of these really, really healthy ones. And I was trying to decide between the different plants, and I was like, I know what I'll do. I'll count the number of cuttings that are in there just to kind of, gauge which one has the best chances. It might matter. So I was counting, and I got through like all 10 of these different pots of plants, and every single one had 8 cuttings. I was like, that's funny, because I've been making this video about these ones I ordered online for months now. I remember counting for the video. I looked at my notes, and my online order plants had 5 and 6 cuttings. And the plant I bought in person, the plants I consistently see in person, all have 8. I thought that $50 shipped for the same plant that people were finding in person was going to be absolutely fair. That was totally fine with me. But it turns out they're not shipping out the same density in each pot necessarily. Maybe different batches were different within this company, but I just found that really interesting. Not only is it a better deal if you find it in person, but your likelihood of it being a fuller plant is much more likely in person. I will show you guys B-roll of the now 3 plants that I have, let you kind of decide for yourselves. I said this when I filmed the original video. I should have said this at the beginning, but I don't think that my experience is by any means a reflection of the entire company. I don't think that this is how everyone is going to experience a purchase from either their online store or in person. Everyone has different experiences. I would encourage you to look at multiple reviews if this is something you are considering putting your own money towards. I just wanted to put this information out there because I thought it might be helpful to someone. So if you found this information helpful, if you enjoyed this style of video, if you are glad to be seeing videos on my channel again, please leave me a like down below. That helps me out so much, and I really appreciate you being here. Leave me a comment down below if you have purchased one of these plants. Let us know if you purchased it online, in person. How was it for you? I would love to get your feedback. Let's start a conversation down below. Consider subscribing if you have not already, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.